Welcome, Fantasy Endgame fam. It is Sunday, so it's time for two start streamers. And first and foremost, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, or maybe the aspiring fathers, and just all baseball fans in general. I will just say one thing I think is true, regardless of what sport you follow and like. For all sports, a lot of them grow up maybe because your father did watch those or like those sports. There's this father-son bond that's what got you into the sport. I feel like baseball, more than any other sport, that's the thing. Here's so many stories of that being the case, and actual ball players who their dads played ball, whatever the case is. So I think like most appropriate that there's a full day of baseball on Father's Day, as there usually is. So if you did actually, it's probably a little late for gift ideas, but maybe you get a gift card or something for Father's Day, looking for a good book. Actually, I recommend this one. This got me thinking about this. I love this book, The Baseball 100. I don't have an affiliate link or anything. I get nothing from it, just telling you it's a good book. I like reading it. A lot of stories there about guys like Mickey Mantle and all those players who grew up inspired by their fathers. So look, if you're into baseball and you like reading, that's actually a good idea. Get something like that. But here's a good idea: winning in fantasy baseball. Let's get to that. So we've got two start streamers for the day. A little early today because I'm going to keep the evening free for y'all, and I got some plans too. So I'm going to get to your questions after I go through the two start streamers. Maybe you're watching this later tonight or tomorrow. You can make those waiver moves on Monday morning, whatever the case is. Let's talk about the top players to pick up that are supposed to get two starts this week. And as always, things change. Weather changes things. Teams change their minds. So actually a couple pitchers here that were supposed to be two start streamers last week and didn't. And so we're going to just bump them up to this week because they are scheduled to make two starts. And that actually goes for, I believe, both of our first two. So Clark Schmidt of the Yankees is a guy I still am just going to say in general, I feel like people are too low on. He's only 60% rostered in Yahoo. And I mean, in a lot of leagues, even I know in mine, I feel like our endgame league is a really good gauge of like a typical competitive, but not crazy league, reasonable. And Schmidt's a guy who's kind of been bounced back and forth. Someone will pick him up, someone will drop him. I picked him up, I think, 2 different times, and then I dropped him, and I was going to pick him up, and then somebody beat me to it. And, you just never feel like he's a guy you want to keep forever on your roster and just leave and set and forget. But you can't just leave him on the waiver wire because he's also been pretty good. And this week, 2 starts, he gets the Angels and he gets the Orioles. I mean, you can't really get much better schedule than that. But the thing is with Schmidt, even though he doesn't jump off the page, he's just solid. And he's had a quality start in 5 of his last 7 starts. And you remember one of those, he was only 1 out away, right? 5 2/3. He's coming off 6 scoreless versus the Royals. He's been pitching well lately. And he is one of the few pitchers that are actually available for some leagues on waivers that can get you strikeouts. He has 15 strikeouts just over the last 2 starts. And so I got to put Schmidt at the top of the list here. Again, less likely you'll find him. I know right now in our league he is taken, but in your league he may not be. So I would say Schmidt is the number 1, and I have another Yankee, but a little bit lower, very similar, but a little riskier. But let's next get to Lance McCullers. Lance McCullers was supposed to be 2-star streamer last week. Things changed, and so Harry just put this out here. Is he going to get 2 starts this week? Allegedly, he should. So Lance McCullers is on tap to face the A's and the Angels. Now with McCullers, both of these are going to be road games. So not ideal, the first one, because, at Sacramento, not the best ballpark to pitch in, and the A's do hit pretty well at home, but it's not something that's going to scare me away from him. And what you need to remember is that last game with McCullers, not the last start, but the one before that, where he had the 12 strikeouts, where everyone was like, okay, we got to pick up on McCullers now, and I finally bought in. That came against the A's. Okay, so his best start of the season has come against this same team. It doesn't mean that he'll do it again, right? Maybe they'll know what to look for this time. But I still feel confident enough. And against the Angels, again, it's a road game, but that's not a hitter park necessarily. And the Angels have cooled off after being hot for a little while. So I still am going to roll McCullers out there. I know it was a huge letdown because he faced the White Sox, and it was just super obvious he was going to dominate, right? Of course, how could he not dominate the White Sox after being great the last couple of starts? Because that's baseball. It's kind of like a lot of people who picked up on Bryce Elder because he was great, and now he gets the Rockies. And that's baseball. So he wasn't bad against the White Sox. Just, Lou Bob got to him. He decided to actually get a hit that day, and he took him deep. And he still got some strikeouts, though. So I think McCullers is still pretty high up there. If he's available, 2 starts, I'm going to pick him up this week. Number 3 is going to be actually a White Sox pitcher, Shane Smith. He's one of those pitchers, like I mentioned with Clark Schmidt, kind of just underrated. Feel like he's been solid all year, never really had any bad starts. And he only had a kind of bad stretch lately, which is why he got dropped a lot. He just was never really picked up a lot because he's on the White Sox. And he's not going to get you wins. Okay, but if you're in a quality starts league, he definitely can get you quality starts. Now, he did have a stretch, like I mentioned, finally, he had back-to-back bad starts. He didn't get absolutely lit up, but definitely wasn't looking the same. So then people are starting to worry, is he just regressing, falling back to earth? But he got right this last start, looked good again. And again, he's been really just solid and consistent all year long. And he does get you about a strikeout per inning. So this is still, other than wins, still somebody who can help you pretty much across all categories, and just great ratios, really. Just to help your ratios. You don't always need to squeeze a win or a quality start out of a pitcher. Ideally, that's what you're looking for, but if he can help your ratios across 2 starts, that's great. Gets the Cardinals and the Blue Jays, both teams who were hot for a minute. They're starting to cool down, so I feel like this is a solid week for Shane Smith. Okay, number 4 on the list is going to be Zach Littell. Zach Littell, you'd think would have been picked up in more leagues also, but his low strikeout numbers are going to suppress his ownership, but he's helping you everywhere else. And especially, I know he's owned in the Endgame League because we use quality starts. I mean, if you're in a league that uses quality starts, there's really no reason. He's on waivers. He's had a QS in 6 of the last 7. And just that one game against Boston on the road, he didn't quite make it out there, but other than that, he's just been so solid just for the past 2 months, really. And we know that over the past month, the Rays have been the best team in baseball. I mean, they actually have the best record, winning percentage of the last couple of weeks. So great chance not only to get a quality start, but also a win. And yeah, the strikeout numbers are low, but also the walk numbers are low. He's going to keep your whip down. And when he doesn't have a great outing, he never really gets just completely rocked. And so he's not a guy you need to be fearful of rolling out there. And I'm not fearful of the Orioles in his first start. And then he gets the Tigers the next time out. So the schedule's okay, not amazing. And they're both at home. I would actually prefer if they were on the road, not, in Steinbrenner Field. But it is what it is. Littell has just been on such a roll. I think you got to keep him going if he's available. Okay, now get to the young pitchers, which obviously you already know means more risk. So Mick Abel, I basically was pounding the table, say he just doesn't need to be on waiver wires. You should pick him up, period. And, well, this week he gets 2 starts. Look, Mick Abel had 2 really, really good starts, and he won not so great start. It was against the Cubs, okay, one of the best teams in all of baseball, and he wasn't that bad. He gave up 3 earned runs in 4 innings. And people are just dropping him or giving up on him. Look, he's sticking in the rotation because Nola is out for a while. He's been good. And he gets the Marlins in Miami this first start of the week. That alone should make you want to pick him up. And then he gets the Mets. And we've seen the Mets, up and down, hot and cold. It's not an offense, honestly, that should really scare you away from wanting to start him. But he's been so good. I am just going to pick him up. I mean, I don't know why else we have to doubt him. This is not going to be the start of, kind of the snowball effect. This does happen. I get it. With young pitchers, we've seen 1 or 2 good starts, and then the league kind of figures them out. And then all of a sudden, the numbers go to hell. But I don't think that's the case with Abel. I mean, he's obviously a top flight prospect, but I've already talked a lot about him over the past week. Okay, back to the Yankees now. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the list in order of two-start streamers. Will Warren. Now, remember, Warren early in the season was just pretty wretched. You just could not start him at all. And all of a sudden, it's like things clicked for him. He figured it out, and he was dominating. But then it went the other way. And for a couple of starts, you regretted having him, and it's like the league figured him out. But now, maybe he's switching things back. 5 2/3 scoreless on his last start. This doesn't mean that he's going to go back to dominating, but he does get the Angels and he gets the Orioles. So I feel pretty good about Warren. I can't say I am sure that he's going to be a safe bet this week because I don't feel like he's a pitcher who will ever be safe. But that said, the ratios are at risk here. Great chance for a win. He's on the Yankees, and at least he gets you strikeouts. So you want that strikeout upside, the win potential, and hopefully good numbers in the ERA and WHIP categories. I think this is a good week to roll Warren out because of the schedule, and of course, he has 2 starts. And then my final one, again, this is where we're getting less choosy, more risky, but beggars can't be choosers. We're under the 40% threshold here. You're in a competitive league and you're fighting. You're just trying to get somebody who might be sneaky and get 2 starts to you this week. I'm going to go with Slade Cecconi. I know I've talked about Cecconi a couple weeks ago. Been a little uneven. Got to remember, though, coming back not only from some injuries this offseason, but also just got called up from the minors a couple weeks ago. Yeah, so his first 4 starts of the season, he gave up 6 home runs and was not looking great, but he's slowly improved each time. He didn't give up a home run his last start, which is nice, but also he got 8 strikeouts this last time. He has, I think, some kind of untapped strikeout upside, and there's a lot that goes into it. And I talked about this a couple weeks ago. He's changed his pitch mix a little bit. He's added a pitch. I feel like he's one of these kind of still young developing pitchers who could unlock it at any moment. I'm not saying he's going to be like this year's Luis Gil or anything like that, but I think he's going to be better than people expect. And people don't expect really much of anything because he's barely rostered. So if I'm looking for a very low-owned, sneaky 2-start streamer, Cecconi's my first choice. There are others out there, and, he doesn't like these are the only guys I would consider, but that is my list, my top 7 in order. So hopefully those guys can help you out this week. And now let me help you out with your questions. Going to do a little bit Q&A while we got some time. And of course, first and foremost, once again, happy Father's Day, everyone. And the loyal community here, Andrea, thank you very much. And I already got Harry's question, so let's see. Michael is always here. What's up, Michael? Mackenzie Gore, rest of the season. Mackenzie Gore just had another really good start. He didn't get 10 strikeouts. Oh, well, I guess that's a down game for him these days. How do I see Mackenzie Gore? I'd be glad you have him. He's been great. This is finally his breakout season. I'm glad to see it because I thought he might break out last year, and he did it for like a half, maybe not even the first half, maybe a couple months, and then it fell apart. So this is the Mackenzie Gore we could have seen all along. So you got Mackenzie Gore, you just hold. I'm not seeing him as a sell high. You keep him, and you be glad. Thoughts on Jordan Westburg? Kind of the same. Jordan Westburg, I know you're probably pretty happy. He hit a home run today. I love Westburg. I actually traded for Westburg in one league. It was like a combo deal, but still, I really feel like Westburg is still kind of undervalued and, kind of forgot about now after he missed so much time early this season. But I think he's just one of those solid players who will give you a little bit of everything, right? Not a huge power hitter, probably not going to hit over 300, and he's definitely not going to steal a ton of bases, but he helps you across every category to some extent, and just solid and consistent. So I'm keeping Westy too. Keith Santiago, scared to drop Ben Rice. I don't think I would be scared to drop him. I'm somewhat reluctant to drop him because, he's a good hitter. Obviously a great situation. You can't possibly do much better than playing first base for the Yankees or DHing or whatever he's doing. But it's interesting that you brought up Ben Rice because I don't know if you know this. and maybe this is why you're asking, you didn't say it. So Ben Rice, there's some word, some speculation, I don't want to call it rumor, but this came from, I believe, within the Yankees organization, that they might give him a little bit of time behind the plate. If he gains catcher eligibility, then yeah, he's going to be a hot commodity. Now, it hasn't happened, and it's not on its way to happening, because even like today, I don't think, unless I'm wrong, check the box score, I don't think they had him catching. So this is, again, a maybe kind of situation, and it would still take a few games for him to actually be behind the plate before these fantasy platforms add him as a catcher. But just keep that in mind. Maybe this is why you don't want to drop him just yet. And no, he didn't catch. It was the backup catcher, Escara, who caught today. So, I mean, if you can afford to stash Rice, I would do it. But especially in your deeper leagues and your 2-catcher leagues. If it's a standard 12-team league, I mean, if you drop Ben Rice, sure, somebody might pick him up. I mean, I can't guarantee he's just going to be out there on waivers, because he's been solid, but he's also not somebody that you're probably going to, at the end of the year say, man, if only I had Ben Rice, I could have won my league. So it depends who you would drop him for. Back to back. What's up? Emmett Sheehan. So I know some people are picking up on Sheehan, 60-day IL, but he's eligible to come back, might be back soon. But I also feel the same way. I always say this about pretty much every Dodgers pitcher. Let me just throw this out there. Tony Gonsolin, Bobby Miller. I don't know if you remember, but do you know how super excited some people were getting when those guys came off IL? It's like the same thing over and over again, the same jersey, just different name on it. It's because he's a Dodger pitcher. And yeah, he was a high-end prospect, but this is also a guy who's had a lot of injuries, hasn't exactly dominated at the major league level, has been good in spots, but it's like, no, I'm not going to fall for this. So you can stash him, not absolutely saying no here, but we also know that the Dodgers are going to get Glass now in maybe a couple of weeks. Snell eventually, hopefully by All-Star break. They're going to trade for somebody, right? Somebody. The latest rumor is my boy, Sandy Alcantara, the Miami Ace here, Sandy. If the Dodgers trade for Sandy or anybody else, there's not room for Emmett Sheehan. I don't see Sheehan being a staple in the rotation, in other words. So I'm not stashing him. I'm not saying you can't, but I don't consider him a priority. All right, Jeff Erskine. Welcome back, Jeff. Interesting. Okay, so someone offered you Witt. That's unusual. People just say, hey, you want my best player. And Cags. Okay, so you get the Royals for Freeman, Neto, and Evaldi. And it's a keeper league. So future years would help. It hurts this year. Yeah, but how much does it really hurt this year? Now, the big question here is, what's Cags going to give you this year, right? I mean, is Cags equivalent to Neto? Because we can say, pretty much Bobby Witt, Freddie Freeman, that's pretty fair. That's pretty comparable, right? Both studs. And it's just, it's the pitcher, right? You're giving up Evaldi basically for the right to keep Cags and Witt. But if it's a keeper league, I think I got to do this, because Nate Evaldi has been really good this year. But Nate Evaldi is on the IL, and Nate Evaldi has always had a history of being injury prone. Yeah, I'm fine saying it. I don't know. Chris hates that term, but injury prone. He gets injured a lot. I don't think there's anything that we can say that doesn't confirm that. He's been injured a lot, and he's older, and there's no guarantee he keeps up the pace he had in the first half of the year. So I know that might hurt in the short term for your pitching staff, but I'm doing this. In a keeper league, you get Witt and Cags. Yeah, I'm going to take that. Okay, so Keith, let me go back to this. Drop Ben Rice for Miguel Vargas. Now, Miguel Vargas had his one hot week, and he's over it now. I know you got Nick Kurtz, which, look, I would play Nick Kurtz now over Ben Rice, but I wouldn't drop Rice for Vargas. It's got to be somebody with more upside there. All right, now on to David, talking about Sandy Alcantara. I won't say too much right now, because Sandy's on my list on the video that's going to come out tomorrow. So I will get into Sandy. Sandy's a very interesting case, all season long, up until maybe 2 weeks ago, when I finally was like, okay, I can't keep telling you to keep this guy. And I said, yeah, bench him, just keep him for the second half. I kept saying, just wait. And then finally, you're like, okay, I'm glad I waited because this looks like Sandy Alcantara last 2 starts because something has changed. I'll get into it in the video. So the short answer is I think so. When you say top pitcher, obviously we're not talking Cy Young again, but I think he can definitely be startable for fantasy. What is up? Yui 2K. All right. Yui always honestly has the hardest questions because in those shallow leagues, you have to make some tough decisions. He's asking about cutting guys that most teams wouldn't even think about dropping. I'm not dropping William Contreras. No way. I know he's been not so great, like a little disappointing, but I don't think he's a drop bait. Herrera, Kurtz, and Rice, Casillas, Butler, or Arez. See, again, this is what I'm talking about. For any of okay. So any of those first players, Yui, that I think might be droppable. In your situation, you can drop Rice because you already have 2 really good catchers, and you got Kurtz. And I already said I'll take Kurtz over Rice. You know what? I think you can drop CES. So I would say in your case, I'll drop Rice and CES in order to get, like, for now, Adele. Just again, see how I know he's already had an overdate and whatever. Okay, for now, Adele, because you can always drop him later, and you have plenty of options in your league. And I think Neto should be rostered. I'm surprised he isn't. So I would drop Rice and CES for Adele and Neto. And realistically, Arias is fine. He's not, I mean, you know, he helps you in one category, right? The Padres have been cold. I'm okay dropping Arias for a streamer. Yeah, but I don't see anybody on the waiver wire who I really would say, you know, maybe Story, but only if you're actually going to start Story. You know what I mean? If you already have a really good shortstop, then there's no point. Okay. George Maldonado. Should we be patient with Yuri Perez and McGable? I already answered the McGable question. You probably heard it at the beginning. And if not, also check out the waiver wire video that I just did a couple days ago. Yes, keep McGable. Now, Yuri is a different case. I thought about doing a deep dive on Yuri, but wait, because I think the jury is still out. We need to see how he's being handled. The thing with Yuri Perez, okay, he wasn't good against the Pirates. His first start, though. So it's understandable. There's going to be rust, and, you know, this was his first start in the majors in a long time. He was just okay in his last start. I think he only went 4 innings. So he didn't give up a lot, but here's what stood out to me. 3 walks, and if I'm remembering it right, no strikeouts. That's not what you want to see, because the really main appeal of anything for Yuri Perez should be a ton of strikeouts. That's number one. If that's not there, then what are you getting? You know you're not getting wins. You're probably not getting quality starts, because no matter how good he is, are they really going to let him pitch deep into games? Again, that was my concern the whole time. And I know it's like, well, he did this in AAA. He did this in rehab. It is not the same thing. It is not the same thing. And also, you got to realize this is a club that has one of its prized assets, this young arm. They got to protect it. So if he's not getting these strikeouts, I don't know. But I think it's too early to say. So if you can afford to be patient, yes. You didn't pick him up just to see him twice and then drop him, I don't think. Same thing with McAble. I think we need to be patient with all these young pitchers. So there isn't like a really big screaming red flag with Yuri that I'm like, nah, don't do it. But I think it's okay if you just keep him on your bench. McAble, I'm starting for sure, of course, against the Marlins, and I'm probably starting him his second start this week too. So start Abel, stash Yuri. It would be my advice. All right, here we go. N6 RCS, you were back. Had a lot of questions last week. Let's do it again this week. Do I drop Bubba? You know, so it's funny. You probably didn't think this would happen, but I'm going to talk about Bubba tomorrow. And no, it's not to beat the breakout. I'm going to talk about what do you do with Bubba? Because you've probably been stashing him or waiting to pick him up. And now what? So I'm going to talk about Bubba on tomorrow's video. Yeah, I'm going to make you wait. Maybe even Manea. I need a spot start this week as I'm pushing for spot. I see. And you got a lot of injured players. Okay. So in that case, I'll just tell you the answer here is I would drop Bubba and hold on to Manea, King, Olsen, Valdi. Yeah, that's the thing with this King. It's like we don't know when King's coming back, and they're not being very specific here. Olsen should be back kind of soon. Evaldi, too. So I would just drop Bubba. And then 5x5 Roto League with saves and hold. I'm strong in the save and hold category. Need a shortstop. Should I offer Edwin Diaz for Corey Seager? Well, it is hard to figure out what Corey Seager's value is right now, because if you look at the stats, he's worth absolutely nothing, but this is Corey Seager. So I would do it. The only reason, honestly, the only way we can justifiably say that Corey Seager does not wind up being really good the rest of the way is if there's still something bothering him, that lands him back in IL. Now that is very possible because, I was dogging Evaldi for being injury prone. I mean, Corey Seager's probably got him beat. But I still see Corey Seager as a buy low. So this isn't really low per se because Edwin Diaz is pretty good, but this is saves and holds, which devalues him a little bit. So I know it is tough. I don't know if you have another closer who's like maybe a little step below Edwin Diaz that you could offer that the guy would actually take. I mean, I think that's fair. I think it's fair. It's reasonable. Edwin Diaz for Corey Seager. You're taking a risk, obviously. You know this, but you need a shortstop, and it is a save and hold league. I mean, if you do happen to have another reliever who is not quite Edwin Diaz, I don't know. I guess you could try that, but I think it's worth doing. All right. Sorry, Tris, to make you wait. That didn't pop up on my thing. They had a super chat. So what's up to Tris? Been a long-time Endgame community member. What is your forecast for Dominguez rest of the season? Pain. I predict pain. No, actually, I looked at Dominguez today, again, his box score. Nowadays, honestly, I'm checking just to make sure he's in the lineup, to make sure he's not, because I see Grisham batting leadoff, and I'm like, is Dominguez still in there? He is. He's not doing much. I'm starting to think now, and it's a little early to say this, but I'm starting to worry if this is like another 1 year away kind of thing, because I'm still super high. Like everything's there for him. The tools are clearly there. The opportunity is there. He just hasn't put it together. So I'm wondering if he just needs a little more seasoning. I remember this guy who's also dealt with a lot of injuries, and he's still super young. So maybe he just needs more time to figure it out. So I dropped Dominguez, and you got to remember, I was the biggest Martian truther out there preseason. I finally dropped him in our league a couple of weeks ago. I haven't really looked back. I keep an eye on him, but yeah, I think we have to be a little pessimistic at this point. All right, then another super chat. Thank you for Victor Lara. So let's see. Victor's got a couple of comments here. Let me make sure I put your question up. First one, happy Father's Day. Thank you, Victor. So picked up Narvaez for Boston and Josh Smith and dropped Wallner for Swanson. All right, so Wallner, I still believe in. I think this is just a rough stretch for the Twins. I mean, obviously it's very rough. They got absolutely pounded. Their pitching staff did, but now their offense all of a sudden is back to being terrible. You got to remember the first month of the season or whatever it was, the Twins were one of the worst offenses. Well, Royce Lewis was out, Wallner was out. All these players were injured. But that's exactly what they're having all over again. Royce Lewis, again, shockingly, on the IL. Buxton has been out. They just can't figure it out long term. So the Twins are one of these teams that broke out of their funk for a couple of weeks, and now they're just back in it. So I'm not giving up on Wallner long term, but he's also not someone obviously you have to hold him. I mean, you don't. So it's fine. If you got Swanson for him, then yes, that's a good move. Catcher is Bangalores. Yeah, hopefully he comes back and Matt Chapman's out. Yeah, that's fine. At catcher, Narvaez is getting the at bats there. he's okay. I don't know if we have any other catchers with more upside on the waiver wire. Kyle Teal might be out there, possibly in a lot of leagues. He is. Augustin Ramirez is starting to heat up a little bit. Let's see. I just actually picked up. Well, I know I talked about Alejandro Kirk on the waiver wire video. Tyler Stevenson, if he's available, I think he has to be added. He's a legit hitter, and we just needed him to kind of get into the groove after he missed a lot of time. So I do like him. Oh yeah, and when the deep league, I took a chance on Francisco Alvarez figuring it out, but and Narvaez is fine for now. Okay, let's make sure we don't skip anybody here. All right, say dog outlet. All right, is Machado and Stanton for PCA and Mizrowski a good trade? Someone wants Manny in my league and tried to lowball me with Andrew Abbott. Yeah. So someone wants Manny, so they're giving you PCA and Mizrowski. Interesting. I mean, look, Stanton, I'm just going to ignore. It's just going to assume he gets hurt again or doesn't do anything. So just forgetting Stanton. Mizrowski, who knows? Everybody, it was funny. Everybody freaked out after he kind of bent his ankle on the very last pitch there before going out. Like, that's it. He's done. Look, obviously, Mizrowski, a ton of upside, but you can't count on him being in your rotation. So, worth a lotto ticket here. So basically, we're looking at Machado for Armstrong. You know what? I would definitely rather have Mizrowski over Stanton, but between PCA and Machado, I think that's fine. I would do that. Yeah, I think that is a good trade. If you'd rather get Miz than Abbott, that's fine. I mean, Abbott has been lights out, but I understand where you're coming from there. He's no sure thing, right? Regression could hit. So yeah, I would do that. I would do that trade. I think that's a pretty good trade. Might be good for both sides. All right, we have DVS 71 Chicago. What's up? Young, Rengifo, Barger, Beatty, or Mauricio to pick up for third base. Not Beatty. Beatty's one of those guys every once in a while decides to do something when you're not playing him. Mauricio, I think we're going to have to wait long term maybe, but in redraft right now, the playing time and the consistency isn't there. So I'm going to say no to the Mets. I did notice the other day, Rengifo actually did something. He's been a major bust too. He's also a guy who's always got some nagging injury, but then he's been, I think, injury-free this year. I think something was bothering him still early in the year, even though he came back sooner than expected, but it's just a nothing. And then now all of a sudden he got a 2-homer game and he did a couple of hits. So I'm like, is he waking up? Now today he didn't do anything. I'm still going to be skeptical. I need to see more from Rengifo. So I'm going to go with Josh Young, just barely over Barger. It's going to be one of those guys, but I think I'll give the benefit of the doubt to Young because that offense is waking up. All right, Yui wants to know Abel or Warren. I had them very close to each other on the pecking order. I did have Abel just one notch higher. So I'm going to go Abel. Just a little better schedule. Neftali Diaz, welcome back. Struggling for 1, 2, 3 bases. Okay, now and Josh Smith. Well, I know Caglione isn't a guy that you're happy starting every day because he hasn't, quite figured it out yet. No home runs. That's what you got him for. Specifically for first base. Well, I did say Nick Kurtz might still be out there in some leagues, but if you're getting deep because you're saying like I have Josh Smith is fine. I think you can play him, for the time being. He's not a long-term solution though. I get that. So realistically, in a league like yours, let's see. The options aren't great at first base. I know we talked about Christian Encarnacion Strand. He's an all or nothing option. You play him and hope he gets a home run, and if he doesn't, he's probably going 0 for 4, right? Alec Burleson's kind of the opposite. He's safe, boring. He doesn't have a lot of power, but he'll probably at least get you something in terms of batting average. I will say, you know what? Gavin Sheets, I'm looking at his roster rates down to 22%. Probably a lot of people dropped him because he started to get cold and the Padres are super cold. Maybe just go Gavin Sheets. He's picking it back up. And then let's see. Okay, another one from NXRCS. Drop Bubba for Sandy. Yes. Maybe a reliever like Conley. Well, you know what? Conley, this is a good time to pick him up. I don't know if you noticed, Will Vest looks like he aggravated something today. He got hurt. I don't think it's official that he's on the IL or anything, at least not that I've seen. But yeah, this is a good time to pick up Conley, actually. Devin Williams is on the waivers. I would pick him up too. Okay, and then let's see. Hey, which, by the way, have a good night, Andrea. We'll see you later next time. For this season, would Andrew Painter be the better stash over Logan Henderson? Ooh, that's a tough one. So Logan Henderson, we already know, can pitch in the majors and do a good job. We just don't know when he's going to come back because the Brewers are bent on keeping him down. So he will be back, I'm sure, at some point. We know there's a Brewer pitcher who's going to get injured at some point too, right? But just seeing Mizorowski get called up while he's still at AAA and look really good, that doesn't make you feel great about Henderson's prospects, but he will still be up. Andrew Painter now, exactly as I expected, we're not going to see until after the All-Star break. So I don't think that the delay here matters now because I don't know if we're going to see Logan Henderson for sure before the All-Star break. Painter is supposed to be the more talented of the pitchers. That doesn't mean he's going to do great in the major league level, but I think you're going to have to take a chance on Painter. So now at this point in the season, yes, I will say Painter. Early, the whole first half up until now, I would have said Henderson, but I think we've now seen the tide shift in favor of Painter. Key to Vegas, you caught on to something. That's exactly what I'm going to address in the video. You'll see it tomorrow, but that's exactly right. His last two matchups have been pretty much what you would call dream matchups, but there's more to it then. So. And then Naftali, you're welcome. Where do you rank George Kirby? I rank him. Wait, what? Someone dropped him. That's funny. I'm glad you picked him up. I ranked George Kirby exactly where I would have ranked George Kirby before he got hurt this season. He's a top 10 pitcher. I'm not moving off of that. So it's funny that someone would have dropped him after those two games. I'm glad you picked him up. Keep him. Yes, that's a very good move. All right, and then Tris got another question here regarding Jason Dominguez in a keeper league. I'm rather committed to him. How long would you wait if he doesn't put it together this season? Okay, yeah, that's right. I remember you got him in a keeper league. So keeper league is different. I'm going to hold on to him in a keeper league because I'm not ruling out, the possibility that he steps up in the second half. I'm not giving up on him completely or anything like that. So if it's a keeper league, yeah, I would just hold on and just bench him. I think it's not like he's been completely unusable, right? And has done nothing. He's not like he's hitting 150 or something like that. So I just keep him on your bench. That's what I would do. Sometimes we just got to stay patient here. I know it's annoying, but. All right, so I've already mentioned that video. I'm going to work on it now and get it out to you guys tomorrow. So look for that. It's going to be keep, trade, cut, but with a twist. Last week I looked at some of these players that were on fire, these high-end sluggers, and figure out what do you do? Is this time to trade, to flip them? When a guy starts to struggle, I'm going to look at a different angle. Now I'm going to look at some pitchers who you didn't think were going to be valuable and suddenly are. What do you do with them? Do you try to sell high or do you just keep and be thankful? So check that out. I'm try to mix it up a little bit every week. One more question. Actually, do two more. Got two more coming in here. David wants to know, Chase Burns. You had to stash one pitcher. I picked up Chase Burns. Well, I don't know what your other options are, but I would say Chase Burns is probably up there He was on last week's Beat the Breakout. He's one of the top pitching prospects in all of baseball. I think he placed Bubba Chandler as the top stash for now. Painter, as we just discussed, is up there too. I think we might see Burns before Painter. But I think if I could stash one pitcher now, yeah, I think Burns would probably be it. And what's up, Uncle Ted? Yes, Jansen Junk, not exactly a stash. He's kind of an oddly useful player for a bad team. And then Yui, rank add priority of Priester, Abel, Warren, Mizrowski. I know Priester looked good today. He's last on this list. I'm going to go Miz 1, Abel 2, Warren 3, and then Priester 4. And in your league, I would say Mizrowski and Abel, I would definitely try to pick up. Warren if you need, but yeah, that's where the cutoff is. And then here's the tough questions. Key to Vegas, another tough question. Bailey Ober. So I was asked about Bailey Ober last week, and I said, no, I'm gonna keep him. And yeah, he was bad again. I don't know what's going on with Bailey Ober. He's definitely not looking like the same pitcher. I mean, the hope is this is just like a mid-season funk, but this Bailey Ober does this, right? He's one of these pitchers who feels like he's just a high floor player, like super safe, and then when he's bad, he is bad, right? There is no in between with him. So I still think he's worth a pickup if you can wait for him to figure it out. You know what I mean? When a guy is just going bad, you don't want to throw him in your lineup and hope he gets better. But I think it's okay. I think it is worth a pickup. Yeah, you're right. All right. That's it, guys. Wrap this up for now. Let you get to whatever festivities you might have for the rest of this evening. Happy Father's Day to all. And check out the videos coming out tomorrow and all the rest of this week. When we are actually on location for most of the week, I am privileged enough that I get to go and see the worst team in baseball in person. I'll tell you exactly how bad they look when I catch the Marlins this coming weekend. But hey, a bad day at a baseball game is kind of like a bad day at the beach. They're both good, better than any other day anywhere else. So that's what I get to do this week, but I will still be putting out content for you guys. So check it out. Of course, if you are new here for any reason, you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Helps us out. Turn notifications on so you know when we do the next live stream. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good rest of your day.